Hi, this is Stacy with Yellow Cottage Soapery. I'm going to make a different type of video tonight, one that I haven't made. I usually just do soap. I do make bath bombs, and I thought that I would go ahead and show you how I make them. I know a lot of people struggle with getting a good recipe, so I have a good recipe, and I'm willing to share that with you guys, and I will link it below. So if you want to try it, I have found this to be the easiest way to do it, and it's pretty foolproof. I don't have any issues with it. So in here I have baking soda, cornstarch, Epsom salts, citric acid, and like I said, I will put the amounts and everything below. So a lot of people I know will put it through a sieve just to get out any clumps, but I just run my hands through it. I've already done that before I turn the camera on to make sure that, to get any clumpies out of it. And once it's nice and smooth and mixed up, I go ahead and add my liquids. Now, my liquids, this is all measured out by ounces. I've tried in the past to do a recipe that went by cups, and it just did not work out for me. Ounces are way more accurate, and I find that I get a lot more consistency. So into my dry ingredients, I add my liquid ingredients. Now what I do first is I put my oil and my butter, and I melt that down, and then I add the fragrance oil to this, and I add distilled water to this. So this is my liquid portion, and I add just a little bit at a time, as you'll see, because it activates the citric acid and it starts bubbling. So I just do a little bit at a time so that it doesn't activate all of it, and obviously you want your bath bomb to be fizzy, the end product. So my color, I will show you how I do that. I do not add it first, I end up doing that last, and I will show you how I do that. How I mold my bombs is I just use these clear ornaments, I guess. I got them at AC Moore. And the reason I like these is because the finished bomb ends up being right about a little over 4 ounces. And to me, that's a good size. I know some of these bombs are like 7 and 8 ounces a piece, the big ones. And I just feel like I couldn't myself feel okay spending that amount of money for one bath. So I wanted to make them so that they were a little bit smaller. And I think this is plenty for one bath. And it's going to have a lot of, I use shea butter, and I use coconut oil, and I feel like this is a good size. Now the only issue that I've had with these is, as you can see from this one, I don't know if the camera will pick up, it's cracked right there where it's supposed to kind of snap together, and that's just from, because you know you have to kind of be firm and push it firmly to get it to stay together. Well, I was finding that this piece, this little lip, was cracking off. So I just went ahead, I don't use that one, I am just using this one today. I went ahead and just removed all of that, because obviously you don't want cracked pieces of sharp plastic in your bath bomb. So these do not lock together per se, but I just go ahead and get it as even as I possibly can and press it and all of that, and it has worked out fine. So I will show you how do I do that in a second, but I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to add my liquids to this. I kind of just make a little well and dump a little bit in, and then I cover it. So I just don't want it to be all fizzy everywhere. I don't know how good you can see, but I just do a little bit. Oh, it smells so good. This is actually Margarita lime that I'm making, a restock, and also I have a show coming up, so I'm doing it for that. fizzing away. So you can see it over, I don't know if you can see it there, it's the citric acid gets activated. Now this recipe makes approximately 10 4-ish ounce bath bombs. Sometimes I get 11, and I don't know why, because I always measure my ingredients exactly. Maybe it's just how firm it is, you know, when it sticks together or whatever. I always kind of put a bunch in here, and it just makes sure I get all the liquids out. Okay. And then what I do is I just take both hands and I fully incorporate it. What I do if I have any extra left and it's not enough to make a full bath bomb, I have little cups that I put them in, and I set them aside, and then when I get enough, I go ahead and pipe some cold processed soap on top of them. So it's a bath bomb with a little bit of soap on the top. I know there's a recipe for like a meringue that can go on the top, but I don't do that. I don't understand if you would really want to use the top of it or if you throw it away. I don't think I would want to sit in meringue powder. I would think that would kind of maybe cause yeast infection. I don't know. So I'm real careful what I put in, knowing that people are going to be soaking their body in it. I don't want to have anything that they can't use that they would have to throw out. So I like to pipe soap on the top so then they have a little bit of soap. So I do that with my bomb cupcakes. I don't know if I said that right earlier, but that's what I do with those. But my main thing is just these regular bombs, and reasonable size so that I don't have to price them too high. I do several different kinds. I do oatmeal milk and honey, black raspberry vanilla, pink berry mimosa, margarita lime, lavender, lemongrass. I don't know what else right off the top of my head, but okay, so what I do not use witch hazel. I tried it in the past, it never worked for me. What I do at this point is I have the lip balm colorants from Brambleberry, and you can buy those. They're concentrated, and Soap Queen actually has a video where she shows you how to, the ratio to mix them with the water to make them the right, so that you can use them. You don't want to make a bath bomb that's going to bleed whatever color all over the place. So this is mixed. I have all the different colors, and this is mixed. This is green apple. This is what I'm using for the margarita lime. And this works so good. When I first did it, I was like, I don't know why I didn't think of this before. Because with having the color and the water in it, it is helping to set it up. So I'll just keep adding it until I feel like it's enough and they're going to stick. I can kind of tell the consistency. And we've tried these out, my family, and they do not bleed. None of the colorants get in your tub or bleed all over. So I'm going to, I just start out with 6 or 7 squirts of it maybe. And just mix it up good. You'll need to add more, but I always start out with a little bit less. And then keep squirting. So you can see the pretty green color. But to me, that has been the key. I know you can use micas and there's bath bomb colorants, but to me this works great because it's got the water in it, so it helps with the binding of the bath bomb. Now I can tell, I picked this up and it holds together, but it's not quite as firm. Now the other thing is this size recipe, like I said, makes 10 or 11, and I do not make a larger recipe than this. And the reason is because towards the end of this, you'll see as I'm molding them, they're starting to firm up, and they don't want to stick together quite as well. I always find with the last one or two, I'm having to really push it harder to make it stick together. So you don't want to do this and then go off and fold your laundry. Once you start pouring in your liquids, stick with it until you have them molded, because it will start to harden. I was hoping to get a little bit darker green before it was time to start molding, but you can see it's sticking pretty good. I probably could start molding. I'm going to give it just a couple more squirts, and then I'll start molding them together. It smells so good, yummy. And make sure you do blend it really well with your colorant, because you can see specks of a colorant sometimes if you don't. And it's not a bad thing, it just... Alright, I think I'm going to go ahead. I keep my bath bombs pretty light in color. I don't want anything too dark, because that could probably eventually bleed. So, what I have, I've mixed up a little bit of Epsom salts with a little bit of mica, and so I'm just going to place just a couple in the bottom, just like very few, and I just go ahead and put it in the first one, and I just pack it in real good and set it to the side, and then I take the other one, do the same. I mean, just pack it in there as good as you can. And then I always just kind of go together like this, and I just kind of keep turning until they're pretty close to meeting. Now, like I said, with these, they're not going to lock together. So I just kind of eyeball it, and I just do a couple good squeezes. You can see the little Epsom salts right there in the bottom. See, this one came off perfectly fine. And if I try to do this one and it doesn't, I just take a little dowel and tap it real gently, and it comes right off. So there's the bath bomb, and you can see the little Epsom salts in it, and then the little colored Epsom salts. And then I just set them on kind of a towel where it's soft, the surface is soft. And most of these ingredients you can find in in a grocery store, except for the shea butter and I think citric acid you can find. That one just popped right out without having to tap it. You can find, I think, citric acid possibly at Whole Foods stores. No, I've not bought that at there before. I get it through a soap supply company, but most everything else except the shea butter you can get in your grocery store, and you can leave the shea butter out. If you can add, instead of the shea butter, you can substitute a little bit of sweet almond oil or a little bit of cocoa butter. Some people even probably could use olive oil. Now, I've never done it with any of those, but I have seen them in bath bomb recipes before. I'm sure what is going to be the variable is going to be how much water, the colorant, that you would add. Now, if you were using a mica instead of the Lip Balm colorants that I use, I'm assuming you would just mix in the mica, and I forgot to put my little Epsom salt in this one. I'm assuming that you would go ahead and mix in your mica with your dry ingredients, and then you maybe would have a spritzer bottle of water, and that may work. Now, I've heard some micas do bleed, and I'm not familiar with that. I did do micas in the beginning, but it was just for my family, and I did find a couple of them bled, and I just didn't want to take the risk of doing it and having it bleed in someone's tub. And so this is what has worked for me, and I know some people don't want to share those things or what they figure out, or they don't want to share with other people, but I feel that I don't know, I just feel that if I can help someone, I want to help somebody, and I know everyone doesn't feel that way, and that's okay. Now, as far as my soap recipe, that I won't share because that's taken me. Soapers don't normally share their recipe because there's plenty of basic soap recipes out there for beginners, but it's really up to you to formulate your own. So most soapers, I guess it would be like a baker. They don't share their best recipes. But with something like this, people can make them at home. And if you don't want to make them, then, or if you're interested in buying any of my products, you can visit my Etsy store. It's www.etsy.com/shop/yellow Cottage Soapery, and the Y in yellow and the C in Cottage and the S in Soapery are all capital. I'll put a link below. See, these I'm not having to tap at all. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I think it just depends on how much of the water and colorant that you add. Now, I live in a very humid climate, and I know that a lot of people probably have issues depending on their climate. I do not do any, I don't keep them, like I don't do any outside shows where I would have them, because I'm not sure. They hold up perfectly fine in the store where I have them, and they hold up perfectly fine in my home. I've not had any cracking, splitting, nothing. So, see, I can already tell that this is kind of starting to set up a little bit, because you can see how it doesn't want to stick. So you just get some more and go for it again. But these little glass or plastic things, they're $1 at, I think I've seen them at AC Moore and at Michael's. And so if I use it for a while and then ready to get in some, oh no, some new ones, then I just replace them. But I generally just use one when I'm doing it. I feel like, why do I need to keep... At first I left them in this little mold for a little bit. Like I'd set it over there and I'd pick up another mold. Then I realized it really wasn't necessary for me to do that. So I just use one. I'm trying to pick up the wrong part. Okay guys, I won't bore you watching me make the rest of them. But if you have any questions or comments, just leave it below and I'll be happy to reply. And like and subscribe if you like my videos. Thanks so much for watching.